Hi, I'm Melissa with Mix in Some Magic. I'm a Disney planning expert and I'm here to mix a little magic into your day. Each week I share Disney vacation planning tips, park strategies, and a little bit of Disney history sprinkled in. Of course, I like to include lots of Disney magic. Join me, let's mix in some magic. Hello and welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. Today we are going to be talking all about the changes that are happening at Disneyland. I'm talking about Genie Plus being dead and gone and Lightning Lane Multipass taking its place. Now at Disneyland, it's just a name change only, thank goodness, because I feel like people have just barely got the hang of using the old Genie Plus. So if we had to change how we did everything, it would have been rough. I'm not gonna lie, it would have been rough. So I'm very glad that it's just a name change only, but it is still a little confusing for people, especially people visiting Disneyland for the first time. They're not sure how to use Lightning Lane Multipass. So in this episode, we're gonna cover everything about it. How to use it, what it is, what the individual Lightning Lane system is, which is now called the Lightning Lane Single Pass. It's just a lot of name changes. It's going to be hard for me to get used to, but I want you to understand how to use the system so that you don't waste your money. Because if you don't know how to use it, then you're going to show up and you're going to be confused and you're going to use it incorrectly. And then you're just going to be wasting your money, which is sad. I hear about it all the time. People purchase the system, the Lightning Lane Multipass system, formerly Genie Plus, and they don't know how to use it. So they just kind of wing it and they end up only being able to ride one or two rides using it, and then they're frustrated. If you know how to use it, you're going to be able to use it for tons of rides, but there is a little bit of strategy involved to using it efficiently. And you kind of have to know how the whole system works, and learning while you are there at Disneyland isn't the best way to do it because you're going to do it wrong. Like, you're going to be learning by experience because you're going to be messing things up. And then you'll be like, oh shoot, we shouldn't have done that, but it'll be too late. So if you just have a little information going into it, it's going to make your Lightning Lane Multipass experience so much better. I want to thank my Patreon members for their support. You guys are the very best. They are the reason that you're listening to Mix in Some Magic right now. Patreons get early release episodes. They also get ad-free episodes and a ton of other benefits. So if you are not a Patreon member, then go on to my Patreon. I'll put a link down in the show notes. Click on that. Come join us. Come become a member. I appreciate you guys. If you are listening to the ad-supported version of Mix in Some Magic, then I appreciate you too. Thank you so very much. Just thanks for being here. All of you. I appreciate it. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get all into Lightning Lane Multipass. Let's see how many times I say that during this episode. It's gonna be a lot. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Mix in Some Magic. Making dinner is the worst. I absolutely hate deciding what to make for dinner each and every night. It's so time consuming, and then I have to unthaw the meat and I have to prep everything and then I have to cook it. It takes me forever. I'm over it. My family is also trying really hard to make healthier choices and eat more protein. And honestly, cooking a protein for dinner each night is tricky. It's hard for me. It's time consuming and it's been a struggle. But luckily, I have found a solution. Just Meats. Just Meats is an amazing service that ships quality protein to your front door. So the meat arrives fully cooked and ready to use. All you have to do is reheat it and you're on your way. Dinner is done. Boom. Congratulations. They have really great options like smoked Texas brisket, slow-cooked pulled pork, Texas rubbed chicken thighs, beef tri-tip, and more. It only takes a few minutes to heat up and you're ready to go. I add a side dish like rice and a veggie, and then we have a healthy, high-protein dinner that didn't take me hours to make and that I didn't have to stress out about. It's so much healthier than fast food, cheaper than fast food. So we're saving money, we're eating healthier, and we're getting high quality protein, which is really important to my family. It's been a game changer, and I think that you are going to love it too. So I'll put a link in the show notes and you can check them out. You can also use my code JustMelissaH for $20 off your first purchase. Getting Just Meats delivered to our house has been a huge lifestyle upgrade for us. We're eating healthier, it's delicious, and no more stressing about what to make for dinner. I can't emphasize how happy that makes me. I think you're going to love them too. Check them out. There's a link in the show notes. Welcome back. Okay, Lightning Lane Multipass is a system that is designed to help you skip the longest lines at Disneyland, but only if you know how to use it effectively. Like I said before, if you don't, you're probably going to be wasting your money. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, the Lightning Lane Multipass system can seem overwhelming at first, but that's why you're here. So you can learn about it, you can understand how it works. Then you're not going to feel overwhelmed when you're using it in the parks. I have used it extensively. I've done all kinds of strategy testing on it. So I have a lot to share with you that will help you so that you're a pro right off the bat. You know how to use it and it will be simple and easy. First thing I want to mention is that Lightning Lane Multipass is a paid upgrade. So it gives you, if you buy Lightning Lane Multipass, it's going to give you access to the Lightning Lane on select attractions in Disneyland and California Adventure. These attractions are usually the most popular rides in the park, with two exceptions. We're going to talk about that in a bit. It's kind of like the old FastPass system where you got to go through the FastPass line. It's just like that. You're just paying for it now. There's no longer a free version. It's all a paid version. Now, as of right now, Lightning Lane Multipass at Disney starts at an additional $30 per person per day, but that cost can go up depending on crowd levels and the demand. So my recommendation, if you know you want to use it, then purchase it when you purchase your ticket, because then you're going to get that lower rate. If you wait to get it when you're in the park, which you totally can do, but you might pay more for it on that day depending on crowd levels. So maybe you show up thinking it's going to be $30 per person per day, but that day it's $35. So my recommendation, if you know you want to use it, definitely get it with your ticket just so you lock in that lower rate. So when you have a Lightning Lane Multipass, you're going to use the Disneyland app to select the next arrival window. And then when it's your turn, you can enter through the Lightning Lane, which is always shorter than the standby line. So you're going to save time waiting in the long lines, especially if you follow all of my tips. And then you're going to be able to get on more attractions. There's also the Lightning Lane single pass option, which is formerly the individual Lightning Lane. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I want to tell you there's a couple of extras that are thrown in when you purchase Lightning Lane Multipass that some people don't realize, and I don't want you to miss out on these awesome things. The first thing is PhotoPass is included with Lightning Lane Multipass. So when you purchase it, you get PhotoPass with it. That means you can download and share all of the photos taken by the Disneyland photographers throughout the park, and you also get access to your ride photos. I love PhotoPass. It's so much fun. Pictures, in my opinion, make the very best souvenirs. So if you purchase Lightning Lane Multipass, make sure you take advantage of PhotoPass. Every time you see a photographer, have them take your picture, especially if there's a photographer that's standing there without anything to do. Grab them, say, hey, can you take our picture? That's what they're there for. And you're going to have tons of great photos from your trip. You can even ask them to include magic shots. That's very fun. It's all included. So make sure you realize that and take advantage of it. Another thing that's included with Lightning Lane Multipass is Disney Photo Pass Lens. So this is kind of a fun, different way to capture the magic of Disneyland through the Disneyland app. You can add these photo lenses to your pictures and videos while you're in the parks. Now, they do have some free ones, but they have some that are only available for Lightning Lane Multipass guests. Even if you're not taking pictures and videos using these lenses, they are really fun to play around with while you are in the parks, especially if you're waiting in line and your kids are getting a little restless. You can pull up the app, pull out the PhotoPass lens, pull it out, just go to that place on the app, and your kids are going to love looking at all the options. So you can pull up one where like there's Mickey Mouse on your shoulder and it's a video, and so you move and Mickey moves, and there's all kinds of cute ones, and it's definitely a good way to pass the time in line. Plus, they make for some pretty cute pictures and videos. Another thing that's included with Lightning Lane Multipass is the Audio Imagineering Field Guide. So through this app, you can kind of discover the park in new and interesting ways, and you can listen to behind the scenes insights and stories during your visit. Now, I was really excited about this when it first came out a few years ago because I love audio tours, like at museums. Those are so fun. I love that. And this works similarly, but the only problem is it is very, very hard to hear the information because of the busyness and the noise in the parks. So if this is something you're like, oh, I totally want to be able to hear all of the things, you're going to need headphones. I've tried it a bunch of different times, like all the way up, holding it right up to my ear, can barely hear what's happening. So if you're like, oh, I would love to listen to those, maybe throw a pair of headphones into your park bag. Okay, there are select attractions included in Lightning Lane Multipass. That's a misconception that a lot of guests have. They show up thinking they're going to be able to use Lightning Lane Multipass on all of the attractions, which is not the case. It's only select attractions. But here's what you can use it on at Disneyland. Autopia, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, usually Haunted Mansion. Right now, like we talked about, Haunted Mansion is under refurbishment, and when it reopens, it will be open for virtual queue only. So right now, Haunted Mansion is not on that list, but it should be back on the list eventually. Indiana Jones, It's a Small World, Matterhorn Bobsleds, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, Roger Rabbit Cartoon Spin, Space Mountain, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, Star Tours The Adventures Continue, and as of this recording, for a limited time, Pirates of the Caribbean. They threw Pirates of the Caribbean on the Lightning Lane Multipass list because they took Haunted Mansion off because of refurbishment, and so that one's not on there. So they added Pirates to kind of like balance it out. But I believe Pirates will be taken off as soon as the virtual queue is done for Haunted Mansion. And we also expect Tiana's Bayou Adventure to be on there eventually, because I believe it will open with a virtual queue when it does open later in 2024. Okay, over in California Adventure, there's Goofy Sky School, Grizzly River Run, Guardians of the Galaxy, Mission Breakout, Incredicoaster, Monsters Inc., Soarin' Round the World, Toy Story Midway Mania, Web Slingers, and Little Mermaid Ariel's Undersea Adventure. Now, you might have noticed that two very popular attractions are missing from this list: Radiator Springs Racers and Rise of the Resistance. That is on purpose because these two attractions have a Lightning Lane single pass. So the only way to ride these attractions is the standby line. You can totally wait in the standby line if you want, or you can purchase an individual, oh, you guys, I almost said individual Lightning Lane. That's not the case anymore. The exact same thing, but now it is called a Lightning Lane single pass. So you can wait standby, or you can get a Lightning Lane single pass to ride the attraction. Now, if you want to go the Lightning Lane single pass route, you can buy 2 per day for different attractions. So you could buy one for Rise of the Resistance and one for Radiator Springs Racers, but it's not going to let you buy 2 for Radiator Springs Racers. You do not have to have Lightning Lane Multipass to add the Lightning Lane single pass. So if you don't have it, you just want the single pass option, you can totally do that. Or if you have Lightning Lane Multipass and you want to ride Radiator Springs using the Lightning Lane Single Pass, you can totally do that. That's totally fine. The cost depends on the demand and the crowd levels. You can plan on paying $15 to $30 per attraction for the Lightning Lane Single Pass option. It's expensive. It is totally expensive, but for some people, it's worth it. I never do it just because with Radiator Springs Racers, there is a single rider option. So I will do the single rider option. I prefer that over paying $20 to $30 per person for Lightning Lane Single Pass. And Rise of the Resistance, I have a little trick so that I never have to wait in line more than about 20 minutes. I'll tell you. Okay, don't worry. I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you the trick. If you get in line for Radiator Springs, not Radiator Springs Racers, sorry. Rewind. If you get in line for Rise of the Resistance, about 10 minutes before the attraction closes for the day, you're going to have a very, very short wait time. Now, the attraction closes earlier than most attractions. Usually it's at 9 or 10 p.m. So on the day of your visit, you need to go into the Disneyland app, click on Rise of the Resistance. You have to click it a few times to get to the spot that I want you to find, but it's going to tell you what time it's going to close that day. You need to get in line 10 minutes before it closes. As long as you're in line before the attraction closes, you're going to be able to ride. Well, say the attraction closes at 10 p.m. You get in line at 9:55. At 10 p.m., the attraction closes and they stop letting in individual lightning lanes. That means that the standby line is the only line that they're working off of. They don't have the DOS Pass system going into it. They don't have individual lightning lanes or rider switch. All they have is the standby line, which means it moves really, really quickly. So that's the best way to ride that, in my opinion, so you don't have to wait for 60 minutes for that ride. All right, I'm going to get into some tips and stuff in a second, but first I want to talk about how you can make Lightning Lane Multi-Pass fit into your budget, because I know it's expensive. I have 7 people in my family, and if we're going to buy it for everybody for our whole trip, that is a ton of extra money, but it really does make a big difference. So here's some ideas that I have how you can make it fit into your budget. You could just add it to 1 or 2 days of your visit. It's not an all or nothing thing. If you're going to purchase it with your tickets, you do have to purchase it for your whole visit, but you can add 1 or 2 days onto your trip while you're in the park. So if you're we're going to be there for 3 days, but I don't think I want it for 3 days, that's fine. You can add it on when you're there, just on a day-by-day basis. You might end up paying more per day because of the rates that kind of fluctuate, but you could definitely do that. Maybe you just want to do it on the very last day of your trip. That is an option. You could also add Lightning Lane Multi-Pass to your entire trip, but make your trip a bit shorter to afford it. We have done this before and it's worked really well. So instead of going 4 days, maybe you just go 3 days, and the money that you save, because you're saving money on an extra night in a hotel, you're saving money on park tickets for that day, you're saving money on food for that 4th day. If you took all the money that you were going to spend on that 4th day on hotels and food and park tickets, you could take that money and put it towards Genie Plus for those 3 days, and you're going to come out ahead. So that's a great way to do it. Just shorten your trip by a day. You're not going to be paying any extra money than you originally budgeted for, but you're going to get Genie Plus. So I don't even know that you would miss that 4th day, because you're going to be able to get so much done during the day using Lightning Lane Multi-Pass. I think I just said Genie Plus. Please forgive me if I say Genie Plus. Old habits die hard. This is a hard transition for me. Okay, another way you can make Lightning Lane Multi-Pass fit into your budget is to skip the park hopper. Park hopping is expensive, and many people find it to be a total waste of money, myself included. We don't buy park hopper tickets. There's so much to see and do in each park that we find it kind of unnecessary. So we just plan on spending our whole day in the park that we're at, and that money that you save on not purchasing a park hopper could go towards Genie Plus. And I think putting that money towards Genie Plus, oh, you guys. putting that money towards the Lightning Lane multi-pass is a much better way to spend the money. I tell ya, I'm so sorry. Oh gosh. Let's talk about how Lightning Lane multi-pass works at Disneyland. It can feel a little complicated at first. It really can, but once you get the hang of it and start getting into it, it's pretty simple. So if you purchased it with your tickets, it's going to be on your Disneyland app. It's going to be ready for you to use as soon as you enter the park. If you haven't purchased Lightning Lane Multi-Pass for the day, you can purchase it as soon as you enter the park on the day of your visit. You can add your whole group to your Disneyland app by scanning their tickets into the app, and that way one person can make Lightning Lane Multi-Pass reservations for your entire group, which I highly recommend. You can make your first selection after you are scanned into the park, and all guests must be scanned into the park for the day before you can start making Lightning Lane reservations. So if dad is still back at the hotel and he didn't get there with everybody else first thing in the morning, you can make Lightning Lane reservations for other people who are scanned in, but you won't be able to make one for dad until he scans in for the day. Now, once everybody is scanned in, say your whole family scans in, but then you decide to go back to the hotel to swim and take a break during the afternoon, since you're already scanned into the park, you can continue to make Lightning Lane reservations from your hotel. That's okay, because you're already scanned in. Disney already knows you're there for the day, and this is a great way to do it. If you happen to leave the park, you can still be making reservations that you can then use when you return later that day. So once you've made your first reservation, you will wait for your return time. And then when your return time comes up, you'll use the app or your Magic Band to scan into the Lightning Lane, and then you'll get to go through the shorter line and enjoy the attraction that way. If you have any questions while you're in the park, make sure you ask a cast member because they are totally happy to help. They're really great. You're not able to make another Lightning Lane multi-pass reservation until you have scanned into the Lightning Lane for your current reservation. So maybe you have a Lightning Lane reservation for Indiana Jones. As soon as you scan into Indiana Jones, you can make your next Lightning Lane reservation. And I highly recommend, as soon as you scan in, while you're in the Lightning Lane, make your next selection. However, there is an exception to that rule. If your return time is more than 2 hours out, at the 2-hour mark, you're going to be able to make another Lightning Lane multi-pass reservation. So at that point, you would be holding more than one Lightning Lane reservation. So you can stack them. You can be holding more than one. So say you make a Lightning Lane reservation for Space Mountain and it's 11 a.m., but the return time isn't till 3 p.m. That doesn't mean you have to wait until 3 p.m. when you scan into Space Mountain to make another reservation. You can make another reservation at 1 p.m. So highly recommend setting an alarm on your phone so you don't miss that time, because staying on top of your return times and staying on top of when you can make your next selection is one of the ways that you can really get through the parks efficiently with Lightning Lane Multi-Pass. A Lightning Lane Multi-Pass allows you to use the Lightning Lane one time per day per attraction. So you can't make multiple reservations for Space Mountain. Once you use your Lightning Lane for Space Mountain, you can't use it again. So just once per attraction. Now there are some things that you need to know about so that you can use it efficiently. I've got some tips that are going to help you out immensely. Once you know these things, you're going to be able to use it like a pro. Okay, let's start with park hoppers. If you are park hopping and using Lightning Lane Multi-Pass, rope dropping is going to give you the most bang for your buck. So make sure you're there for rope drop. It's a great way to start your day. If you don't know what rope drop is, you're just going to want to arrive about 30 to 60 minutes before the park opens. Make sure you are arriving at security at that time, not like getting out of bed at that time. When you get there early for rope drop, then you are able to get into the parks earlier. They open about 30 minutes before the park officially opens. They'll start scanning tickets, letting people in, and then you can line up and be ready to go right when the park opens. So you'll be lined up like over by Adventureland. And if the park opens at 8 a.m., you're going to be inside Adventureland walking onto your first ride while there are just people who are barely getting to security or barely getting out of bed and still have to go through security, still have to go get their ticket scanned, and on and on. You're going to be way ahead of them because you will have already had like 3 or 4 rides under your belt before they even are in the park and ready to go on rides. So yes, you have to get there a little bit early. You're going to be standing around waiting for the park to open, but once it does open, you're going to be able to hit a bunch of attractions and walk on them and enjoy them really quickly, where later in the day you would have to wait longer for them. That's an overview for rope drop. So whether you are park hopping or not, rope dropping is a great option for everybody, and anybody can do it. It's not like early entry where only hotel guests, like Disneyland hotel guests, can use it. Anybody can rope drop. Okay, back to Lightning Lane Multipass for park hoppers. Like I said before, you can't make your first selection until you are scanned into the park. But as soon as you're scanned into the park, I would make a Lightning Lane reservation. Make it for one of them that goes quickly. The ones that go the quickest are Guardians of the Galaxy, Toy Story in California Adventure Park. Those ones are the most popular with the Lightning Lanes, and also Incredicoaster, that's probably third. Over at Disneyland, Space Mountain and Indiana Jones are the ones that go the fastest, except for during the holidays when Haunted Mansion is part of Lightning Lane Multipass. Then that would be your number one choice during the holidays and Halloween time, if that's an option. This year, I don't think it will be. So you're going to, as soon as you get in, you're going to scan into the park. You're going to make your first Lightning Lane reservation and make it for one of those, depending on which park you are starting in. Make it for one of those that I just mentioned, and you're going to be able to walk right on. You're going to get on super quick, then make it for the second one that I just mentioned, one of those on the list. Because those are the more popular attractions, they're going to have longer waits as the day goes on. So for this reason, I want you to book them quickly so that you can get as many rides out of the way before you park hop. So you can park hop starting at 11 a.m. And once you park hop, then you're going to do the same thing over in the other park. So I would like you to park hop right at 11 a.m. So say you're starting at Disneyland and you use your Lightning Lane to do Space Mountain, and then you do Indiana Jones, and then maybe you make another one that you can use right away for Buzz Lightyear or whatever it is. Then I want you to be able to park hop right at 11. You can start making Lightning Lane reservations for the other park if you have a park hopper. The return time just has to be after 11 a.m. So while you're over at Disneyland, you can make a Lightning Lane selection for California Adventure, but the return time just has to begin after 11 a.m. So once you park hop, do the same thing at the other parks. Start with those most popular rides, get everything done over there that you want, and then you can hop back over to Disneyland and keep going with your Lightning Lane selections. Now, if you are not park hopping, your day is a little bit different. You can take your day a little bit slower. Again, I recommend rope dropping 100%. That is the way to go. As soon as you are scanned into the park, you could make your first Lightning Lane multi-pass reservation. However, I want you to wait a little while before you make your first reservation, because I want you to rope drop, and I want you to hit some of those rides that are not part of the Genie Plus system that are going to have really short wait times. So your first few rides, I don't want them to be Genie Plus Lightning Lanes. Or, you could do a Genie Plus Lightning Lane attraction, but don't use your Lightning Lane, because the lines are so short at rope drop. Like, you could make a reservation to go on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, but you're going to be able to walk on that anyway, so it would kind of be a waste. What I want you to do instead is hit some of those rides that are not part of the Lightning Lane system. Anything but Peter Pan, because that line is always going to be long. You're going to waste your rope drop time. But I like to do like Jungle Cruise. I like to hit the Fantasyland rides. Anything, whatever your family feels like doing, then do it. But hit some of those that don't have Lightning Lanes, because I don't want you to waste them first thing in the morning, because everything's going to be so low anyway. I suggest waiting about 60 to 90 minutes after the park opens to begin making Lightning Lane reservations, because I want you to get those shorter wait times. And like I said, if you begin making them right away, the return time is going to be immediate. If you got one for Matterhorn at 8 a.m., you were going to walk on. It'll be like, great, come now. Your return time is now, and you're going to walk on it, but you would have walked on it anyway because of rope drop, if that makes sense. So use that first 60 to 90 minutes to hit some of the rides that don't have Lightning Lane multi-pass and are going to have a longer wait in the day, or rides that you know you're going to want to do more than once. Like maybe you love Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Go ride it first thing in the morning when there's no wait, and then you can ride it again in the evening using your Lightning Lane. Like I said before, same attractions are the most popular, so I suggest once you do begin making your reservations, you make reservations for Guardians of the Galaxy and Toy Story. Those should be your first ones, followed by Incredicoaster. Over at Disneyland, Space Mountain, Indiana Jones, unless Haunted Mansion Holiday is a part of it, then that should be your number one choice. Okay, hopefully that gives you some tips, some ideas for Lightning Lane. I do have touring plans that are all ready to go. I'm actually still updating. I have to change the name now on all my touring plans from Genie Plus to Lightning Lane Multipass, so I'm still in the process of doing that. But the touring plans are the same, just a name change only. So I do have touring plans over on my website that give you a step-by-step guide to your day. So it shows you like what to book when, in an order that really flows and makes sense. If there's something you don't want to ride on, you just skip it. It's just a step-by-step guide. So if all of this is overwhelming, but you're like, I know I want to maximize my time, then go and check out my touring plans. I'll put a link down in the show description. Another thing we need to talk about that's going to happen if you're lucky and you're using Lightning Lane Multi-Pass is called the Multi-Experience Pass. So sometimes when you are using the Lightning Lane Multi-Pass system, a ride that you have a Lightning Lane reservation for will break down. If an attraction is closed while you're holding a Lightning Lane for that attraction and it doesn't reopen during your window, then you're automatically going to get a Multi-Experience Pass added to your Disneyland app. You'll just see it pop up, and now you're going to know what to do with it, because a lot of people don't know and then they waste it, because these are like gold. This is a really good thing. So if this happens to you, like, consider yourself sprinkled with some Disney magic, a little pixie dust, because it's a good thing, because this Multi-Experience Pass is good for a lot of different attractions, even some that don't have Lightning Lanes. So if you've ever wished that you could just like skip the line for Alice in Wonderland, you can with this Multi-Experience Pass. So here's how it works. Let's pretend that you were waiting on a Lightning Lane return time for Indiana Jones, and it's your turn. You head over there and you realize that Indiana Jones has been shut down. And then you're like, oh shoot, and you feel sad, but then you remember that this could be a good thing, because if it stays down for your whole window, you're going to get a Multi-Experience Pass. Now, they usually show up pretty quickly on your app, so just keep an eye out for it. Once it's on your app, then you can use it for a lot of different rides, but there are different levels. So if your reservation was for like Space Mountain or Indiana Jones, those are top tier rides at Disneyland, and that means you can use your Multi-Experience Pass for just about any attraction in the park except for Peter Pan and Rise of the Resistance. I like to use my Multi-Experience Pass for attractions that don't have the Lightning Lane, just because it's so fun to like skip the line on Alice in Wonderland or Finding Nemo, things like that. That just makes you feel like extra special when you're skipping the line on those. You can find a list of all the attractions you can use your Multi-Experience Pass right on the app, so you'll be able to click on the Multi-Experience Pass. There'll be a little section that says, where can I use this? You can click on that and it will give you a list of all the attractions that you can use it for. If it was a lower tier ride, like it was Buzz Lightyear that shut down, they're going to give you a list of lower tier attractions. You're not going to be able to go on Space Mountain with your Multi-Experience Pass for a reservation that you had for Buzz Lightyear, if that makes sense. The pass is good all day, so you can use it whenever you feel like, but you don't have to use it for the ride that broke down. And a lot of people get confused by that. So again, back to our Indiana Jones example, say we got our multi-experience pass, we could use that for Indiana Jones if we wanted, or I can turn around and make another Lightning Lane reservation for Indiana Jones because we haven't used our Indiana Jones Lightning Lane reservation yet. So you don't have to use it for Indiana Jones. Sometimes you might want to, like if it's the end of the night and there's no more Lightning Lane return times for Indiana Jones, then maybe you're going to be like, oh, well, we're going to use our multi-experience pass, go on Indiana Jones. But if it's earlier in the day and there's still return times, you might book it for later. And then you have this multi-experience pass in your back pocket that you can use for something different. So to use it, just head to the attraction and tell the cast member at the front that you want to use your multi-experience pass. If it's an attraction that has a Lightning Lane, you'll just scan it. If it's an attraction that doesn't, just tell the cast member and they'll tell you how to use it. Sometimes they have a little thing that scans it. Sometimes they don't, but they'll know what to do. They're very familiar with the multi-pass. Let's go over some of the frequently asked questions that I get. First one is, can I park hop and use Lightning Lane multi-pass in both parks? Yes. So when you purchase Lightning Lane multi-pass, it is good for both parks, whether you're park hopping or not. So if you are park hopping, you can use it in both parks. You don't have to purchase one for Disneyland and one for California Adventure. It covers both parks. Another question, this is probably the number one question I get, is Lightning Lane multi-pass worth the cost? And this is a hard one for me to answer. So I'll just tell you what I tell everybody, which is maybe. Not super helpful, I know, but it just really depends on you and your group. Lightning Lane multi-pass might totally be worth the extra cost for your family, but it might not be. Please don't feel like it's necessary to have the Lightning Lane multi-pass to have a good time at Disneyland, because it's not. The Lightning Lane multi-pass is convenient and it will save you time waiting in line. But if that added cost blows your budget, then don't do it. You can still have a great time without it. I promise. I have noticed that Disney is inflating the posted wait time, so you can usually expect to wait about 10 to 15 minutes less than the posted wait time on most attractions. Now, before you rush to buy it though, make sure your kids are tall enough to ride most of the Lightning Lane multi-pass rides, because there's no sense in buying it for your younger kids if they're too small to ride the bigger attractions. So keep that in mind. Now, if I'm visiting with just me and my husband, then I will add Lightning Lane multi-pass because the extra cost is worth it for me to skip the standby line. Now, if I'm visiting with my whole family and we're only going to be there for 1 or 2 days, then I may add it on because of the time that we save waiting in line would allow us to enjoy more of the parks. But if I'm visiting with my family for like 3 or 4 or 5 days, then I probably wouldn't purchase it for each day because the added expense of adding it to a 5-day ticket for 7 people is just going to be too much. That's like blows my budget. So I wouldn't do that. And I figure that with us being there for that long, then we have time to wait in the standby lines. So I hope that helps you decide maybe if it's right for your family. My favorite part about Lightning Lane multi-pass is that it gives you options. You can wait in the standby line if you want, or you can choose to pay more for the Lightning Lane, or you can choose to pay even more for the individual Lightning Lanes. I love that it gives you options because there's really no one right choice for everyone. So you get to decide what is right for your family. Like I said, if you're on the fence, maybe just do it for 1 day, do it for your first day and see what you think, because you can always add it on later. Next question, when can I start making Lightning Lane reservations? We kind of talked about this. You can make them as soon as you've scanned into the park for the day. Once you've scanned in, you can make them from anywhere. So if you head back to your hotel, you can still keep making them once you're scanned into the park. Can one person make Lightning Lane reservations for the whole group? Yes, one person can make all the reservations for your group, which I highly recommend doing for up to 10 people. You just have to have everybody's ticket on your Disneyland app, and everyone needs to have entered the park. So you can add people to the Disneyland app. It's really simple and easy. Just go to the tickets and passes section. And then once you have everyone added in that section, when you go to make a reservation, it's going to pop up a list of all the people that you have on your ticket that are scanned into the park. And then you can click them or select all, and it will make the reservation for everybody all at once. How often can I make Lightning Lane reservations? You can make a new Lightning Lane reservation as soon as you scan into your current reservation or 2 hours after you make the reservation, whichever comes first. So pay attention so that you can be on top of making those reservations. Does using Lightning Lane Multipass drain my phone battery? Absolutely it does. Using the Disneyland app in general is going to drain your phone battery. Plus, you're going to have your phone out constantly to take pictures and videos of your amazing vacation. So having a portable charger of some kind is essential. I always put my phone on low power mode as soon as I enter the park to help conserve the battery, and that makes a big difference. And then I just have I actually have 2 portable chargers because I use mine so much that I drain my first one. So portable charger is a must for sure. Okay, that was a ton of information about Lightning Lane Multipass. I hope it was helpful. A lot of the feedback that I get, the biggest complaint I get, besides people who don't understand how to use it, is that people are annoyed that they have to be on their phone all day while they're on their vacation. Because, I mean, like you've probably gathered from this episode, if you're going to get the most of your money from the Lightning Lane Multipass, you really have to be on top of it. You need to be making your Lightning Lane reservations, and you're going to be checking the app a lot to see when return times are, and it's a lot. And that's the biggest complaint, is people are like, I don't want to be stuck doing this for my vacation. I just want to be enjoying my family and not worried about doing this whole system to get into the shorter lines. And I totally get that. It is pretty annoying, and I wish that it was something that we didn't have to do, but that is just the system that Disney has given us to work with. Over at Universal Studios, they have something similar, but I think it works so much better because you don't have to make any reservations. If you purchase the Express Pass, then you can show up to that attraction anytime you feel like, and you can ride on it through the Express Pass line. And it is so amazing to just take that weight of like thinking about all of the details of that reservations and return times. That's just all gone. You just show up whenever you feel like, and they have 2 levels. One is like unlimited rides through the express lane, and the other one is once per eligible attraction, but they have it on almost every single ride. So you just show up, you scan in, and you go into the much shorter line. And I have to tell you, that is so nice. And I wish that was the system we had at Disney. It would just make everything so much easier. But they do charge a hefty price for that service. They charge, it starts at around $100 extra per person per day. And keep in mind, Disneyland starts at $30 per person per day. So it is quite a bit more. So I guess you get what you pay for. So we're paying for this cheaper system, and that means we have to make reservations and have return times and all of that. I can see a future where Disney eventually switches over to something like Universal, where they have a higher fee, but it's a much easier system. And I honestly kind of hope they do at some point, not because I'm a fan of higher fees, but just because it makes the standby line move so much faster, because not as many people will purchase the Express Pass for $100 over at Universal, per person per day, in addition to their park ticket. And so the lines for the Express Pass move really quickly, but the standby lines also move really quickly too, because over at Disneyland, they're stopping the standby lines all the time to let in Lightning Lane guests. And that just makes the standby lines longer and longer and longer, and you don't have that same problem. So Universal is charging a ton, but it's kind of better for both groups. Whether you're using the Express Pass or you're using the standby line, you're benefiting from their system. And that's not the case at Disneyland. So I could see it going that way. I mean, eventually they're just going to keep raising the price for Lightning Lane Multipass. It started at $20 and now we're up to $30. I imagine once they add Tiana's Bayou Adventure, that's what it's called. Yes. Then they're going to raise the price when they add that. So they're just going to slowly raise the price. But I just wish they would get rid of the reservation system. And I know I am not alone in that. But really, it sounds complicated, but once you get in there and you're making it and you're like in the system and doing it, then you're going to understand it. And you're going to be like, okay, I get this. I know what's happening. I'm fine. But it is still kind of a hassle. But it's also nice to not wait in those long standby lines. So I guess you have to decide what works best for your family. Okay, I hope that this was helpful. Lightning Lane Multipass. Here we go. I think I've said it so many times in this episode that I've maybe got Genie Plus out of my head. I hope so. We'll see. All right. Thanks so much for being here. I think you are the very best, and I appreciate you so much. I will be back next week with something new. Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk soon.